Hello, 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 and welcome to the channel. I'm Shakia, and in this episode, we are going to talk about 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 7, Episode 16. What are your thoughts about this season so far? Are you invested? I don't know if I'm all that invested. I'm going to be honest. There are maybe two couples where I'm interested to see how this goes. But this season for me, it's been okay. But what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. All right, our first couple, Usman and Kimberly. Oh man. So last episode, Usman reveals to Kimberly in front of Jamal and in front of his friends that he did not tell his family he wanted to adopt his nephew. Now, in this most recent episode, episode 16, he, Kimberly, and Jamal meet up with Muhammad, Muhammad's wife, and Muhammad's son, Mahadi. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. And it is awkward. It's awkward. When he starts talking, that's what that's what it sounds like. It's just like, what are we supposed to do with this information, sir? So Usman says, Muhammad, so they're making small talk. And Muhammad says, okay, Usman, you invited my family here. What's up? Usman goes, well, I'm not going to take a second wife. And they're like, okay, what's up? And he goes, if I cannot have my own children, then I figured I can adopt. And I would like to adopt Mahadi, Muhammad's son. And Muhammad gives like this slight grin and with the expression, boy, what are you talking about? And Muhammad's wife is looking at him like, sir, what? What is happening here? And so it gets really awkward. And Muhammad's wife goes, this is awkward because, sorry, it gets really quiet. And Muhammad's wife says, this is awkward. And it was awkward. It was very awkward. And Kim was uncomfortable. She had already said to, I think, Usman, I don't want them to think I'm some white woman coming over here trying to kidnap their child. Like, you should have talked to them about this before Jamal and I came here. But he didn't. And so here we are. And Usman says, I feel like I can bring him to the States with me and Kimberly, and we can give him a better life. We can give him more opportunities for his schooling and things like that. And so Muhammad and his wife, they both say that they want their son, Mahadi, to be raised with their cultural and religious traditions and teachings. And Jamal chimes in and he asks, well, do you want my mom to convert? Because they're Muslim and Kimberly isn't. Do you want my mom to convert? And they go, yes. Muhammad says, yes. And Kimberly, without missing a beat, she says, I'm not converting. And she goes like, I'm not doing it. I'm not converting. And she says, this is why you should have talked to them before we got here. And he, Usman, he's like, it's fine. Calm down, calm down. And Usman is still talking in his calm voice. But essentially, they're all talking about what the expectations would be. So Muhammad and his wife are discussing like what their expectations would be and the questions that they have. And so they both agree to think about it. And they said that they would consult other people. And I thought that was so interesting because it wasn't a flat out no. And they mentioned, or at least Usman mentioned in a previous episode, that this isn't unheard of. And his friends also said the same thing. Like, it's normal within their culture for family to adopt other family members. And it was just interesting to see Muhammad and his wife like at least take it into consideration. And so they said they would consult other people and consider it. And I was thinking like, dag, I wonder how often do we do that here in the States? I know people who have adopted family members, and I have personal experience to an extent. And not that I was adopted, but we can talk about it in another video. And so, from From the examples that I'm aware of, it's always because there's like some sort of crisis. There's a conflict that's happening, and a family member would adopt another family member or a younger family member. So let's say maybe one of their the children of their sibling or something like that, a younger cousin, something like that. And over there, according to Usman and some of his friends, like it's normal, and it doesn't necessarily require a conflict. It doesn't require a crisis to happen. And so I thought that was really interesting. Let me know what you think about Usman and Kimberly adopting Usman's nephew. Do you think Kimberly is going to go through with it? That is really a huge sacrifice, compromise, because she was at the point, or she's at the point in her life where she didn't want any more children. And she wasn't going to have any more children, like, and all of those cards were on the table. It was out in the open. And so I do think it's interesting that she is willing to consider adopting Soldier Boy's nephew, because now she would be responsible for co-parenting him with co-parenting, excuse me, with Usman to raise him. So I do think that's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen with this relationship. I do. And I've said this before. I like Kimberly. And so I want good things to happen for Kimberly. I do. And I wonder though what's going to happen with this relationship. We'll keep watching. The next couple, Jovi and Yara. I don't know, y'all. It's just like, I wonder what TLC's requirements are for couples to return. I don't know. Jovi is on some mess, bringing up having another baby, but it's, I'm like, this man is really trying to trap her. He's trying to trap her with two kids, huh? Because he's so fearful that she's going to stay in Europe. And so on this episode, Yara reveals that she's been unhappy for like 2.5 years. She's been unhappy. Now, during that time period, she hasn't been able to see her family or her friends, especially her mother. And we've heard her talk about how close she and her mother are to one another. So I imagine that that is very difficult for her. And I imagine that that contributes to her feelings of unhappiness. And she's asking Jovi, like, please, Jovi, just let me stay here while you work. And Jovi is saying no. And it does come off a bit controlling. I don't, for me, it comes off as a bit controlling, because I'm like, Jovi, you're not even going to be home when you all return to the States. You are going to go to work. Why does she have to be in the States by herself? Granted, yes, your mother is present, but she lives, I think, an hour away. And Yara hasn't seen her mom in 2.5 years because she wasn't able to travel because she didn't have her green card. So now she has her green card and she's able to stay a little bit longer with her mom and with her friend. Why can't she do that? And to Jovi's point, he is afraid that she'll stay in Europe. Well, that's a different conversation to me. A conversation of her staying in Europe with her mother and her friend and her daughter, her mother's granddaughter who she hasn't seen in person, with her staying there while Jovi is away at work for a month. That's a different conversation than, oh, you're going to stay there forever. He's so afraid that she's going to stay forever that he's trying to hold on, but really he's just pushing her away. So we'll see what happens with Yara and Jovi, but I don't know. At this point, I'm like, come on, like, I don't know. Yara, it is funny because in a different episode, not funny, but in a previous episode, Yara mentioned buying an apartment over there. So I can understand why Jovi is hesitant. At the same time, sir, you're not even going to be home. Let her stay. You're going to be away at work for a month, and she's going to have to take care of y'all's daughter by herself. Let her spend some time with her family. And also, she gets to make that decision. Like, she can consult you, but can't really confine her, sir. Ugh. All right, moving on. We have Michael and Angela. Michael continues to accept Angela's crap. Angela continues to want to improve and give these apologies at different points until something else happens and her behavior is right back where we started. She and Michael go to meet up with the goofballs. That's what she calls Michael's friends. They're talking and she's like, "How did you know before we get started? How did you know I was here?" And they're like, we heard some white woman was tearing up at Michael's house. So we knew it was you." And she's just sitting there. "Oh, well, that's weird." "No, it's not weird, ma'am. You went there and you destroyed his property, yelling, screaming, and cursing. You think it wasn't going to get out that somebody was around there doing that, ma'am?" Anyway, they're all talking. Michael's friend says to her, "Oh, wow, Angela, you look good." And she goes, "I know." Ugh, I'm like, I wouldn't have paid her not one compliment. Not one. Nasty attitude. And in the very, very, very beginning of Angela and Michael's story, I was like, "Oh, let's see, what's going on." Cause she was funny. And then the more we watched, it's not funny. It's not entertaining. Um, of course, she gets into an argument with one of the goofballs, one of Michael's friends, because they bring up the Instagram. And he goes, the friend says, "Mike, we noticed you took your Instagram down. What happened? We know that you want to be an influencer. What happened, Mike?" And she goes, "You know I wouldn't want him." And she's talking to Michael's friend, not even her husband. So it's one thing you don't disrespect the husband. Now you disrespecting other people, other grown folk. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Everybody's not going to be quiet like Mike. So she says to the friend, "You know he shouldn't be having that because see, he don't know how to act on that. And he want to be talking to girls and stuff like that. He don't know how to act on that. And as his friend, because I'm his wife, you should have enough respect from me that you tell him not to be on Instagram." What? Ma'am, what are you saying? No, because one, y'all don't even have that type of relationship. You don't even have that type of relationship with his friends. Two, you're the only one who sees the issue with the Instagram. That is a grown man. And if you are so concerned with his habits or the way he utilizes social media, that's a bigger issue. That's a bigger issue. She starts yelling, screaming, and whatnot, just being Angela. And the friend goes, and he's sitting in his seat at this point. He's like, "Calm down, calm down." And she's still yelling, "Don't you tell me to calm down because I knocked. Da, 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 da." You'll do what? Excuse me. But anyway, so she's just running amok per usual. And it didn't go well, of course. But then in the teaser, so look, okay. So we fast forward in the episode, and Angela is going back home. She's going back to the States, and she and Michael are saying their goodbyes, and they hug, and they talk about how sad they're going to be because they're going to miss each other, blah, blah, blah. We get a teaser for next week's episode. She's crying again because there's something that Mike did. Now, I don't even know if Michael, we don't know. It could be anything. Michael could have posted something on Instagram. He could have reactivated his social media. It could be that. Or it could be something, something serious, but we don't know. But it's like, wow, you got home and now it's something else, huh? It's just a cycle and I'm sick of them. So enough talk. Let's move on to Jenny and Submit. Oh, Lord. I'm over them too. And I was rooting for them. I was because Jenny, she seems like a nice person and Submit seems nice too. And they seem to have this genuine connection, like this genuine love for one another. But I'm both of them, I'm annoyed. So Submit is still uber concerned. He's so concerned with his family and what they think and wanting to be accepted and appreciated by them and all that jazz. And he continues, I don't know if he realizes this, but the more he does that, the more he puts Jenny last. And that has to hurt as a wife, as a partner, right? So they meet his family. The father is still saying, like, no, there's nothing that can be done. If you want to reconcile, essentially, like, you need to leave Jenny. You need to marry somebody who is close to your age. So then Submit reveals to Jenny and Jenny's daughter and Jenny's daughter in law, he reveals that he's thinking of having a baby. Well, first, prior to that, Jenny says, well, we're going to just go to America. And Submit is like, I don't want to go to America. Like, I have my life here, my family here. I don't want to go to America. And she's like, well, I had my life back in the States and I came here. And he's like, well, you gave that up and you came here. And we decided to get married and we decided that we were going to live in India. I don't want to go to America. And he got upset because Jenny or had already contacted an immigration attorney to find out like what the process would be, how long, etc. So he says to Jenny and Jenny's daughter and Jenny's daughter-in-law, her daughter's wife, he says to them, well, I'm thinking about having a baby. We could adopt. And Jenny is like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? Jenny said she didn't want to have, she's not planning on having any more children. Obviously, she's not going to have children. She's 65, but she wasn't planning on raising any more children. She's like, I'm a grandmother. I'm happy with being a grandmother. I don't want to, go back to that stage. And he says, but Submit, the reason why he brings up having a child is because he feels that if he were to have a kid, then his parents and his family would accept the relationship with Jenny because now he has a child. I still don't think they would accept the relationship. And yeah, I don't think they would accept their relationship. I think they would have another issue. Oh, well, because you weren't with a woman your age, you had to adopt, and they might have an issue with that. So and it's like, sir, don't have a child whether you help conceive a child or you adopt a child. Don't bring a child into your relationship just because you want to please your family. Absolutely not. Now, could it be that he changed or he changed his mind because he and Jenny, they've been talking, Jenny said, for about 10 years. So Submit is about what, 33? So they've been talking since he was in his 20s. That's that's interesting. His early 20s. So his opinion could have changed. Maybe he does want children, but it doesn't sound like he wants children. It sounds like he wants to have children so that his family could hopefully accept his relationship with Jenny. At this point, I need Submit to be an adult. I want him to be an adult and I want him to start living his life. But what was interesting, and I realize this is a cultural thing, but when the father was talking about Submit's relationship with Jenny, and he's like, people in the town are talking about this, and they make jokes about this, and he was just so concerned with the perception. He was so concerned with how other people perceived Jenny and Submit's relationship. Not once did he consider whether or not his son was happy. And I just think that's really a messed up way to be. And so Submit, he takes that on, right? It's not about his happiness, it's about pleasing the family and society. I'm over it. Submit, you either get it together, step up and be the husband to your wife that you ought to be, or you divorce her and you go live your life, which it kind of sounds like, I don't know, y'all. I think they might be headed there because Jenny is in her retirement age. Jenny is like, I'm happy with being home. He doesn't need to work. And Submit is like, no, I want to work on his business with his friend and he wants to go out and he wants to socialize, which makes sense if this man is in his early 30s. That makes sense. And so it sounds like they're on two different wavelengths. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I wonder how long they will last. According to Smith's father, he said that his wife said that the relationship would last 1, maybe 2 years. I mean, granted, they've been together for like a decade, so it's lasted, but in terms of the marriage, maybe 1 or 2 years. Yeah, it just seems like they are at different points in their lives, which makes sense, right? Jenny is what, 30 something years older than Submit. That's to be expected. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about their relationship? And how long do you give the marriage? Do you agree with Submit's father? Or technically Submit's mother, because he said she said it. that their marriage is going to last for 1 to 2 years? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. So, oh, we have Big Ed and Liz. I'll be honest, I don't really follow them. Um, yeah, they're Big Ed and Liz, they made an appearance on the show. Apparently Liz um was offered a promotion. She said Chef offered her a partnership, which I think is really interesting because throughout this season, when I would catch glimpses of their scenes, she was talking about not working full time and not really working that much and all of that. And it's like you go from not really working to a partner. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But I don't really, they're not one of the couples that I really follow along with. And Bilal and Shahida, they were not on the episode. At least I didn't see them. So they'll bring them back next week and we'll see what happens with them, even though we already know what the conversation is going to be because it's been the same conversation this entire season. Actually, it's been the same conversation since the tell all when they were on 90 Day Fiancé. Um, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, as I said before, about Ginny and Submit, because I really feel like they're at two different points in their lives. And let me know what you think about Kimberly and Usman adopting Usman's son. I mean, I'm sorry, adopting Usman's son. Let me know what you think about Kimberly and Usman adopting Usman's nephew. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you come on back for the next one. But until then, bye for now.